Welcome to the Center for Teaching and Learning. I'm Christy Cornelius, faculty member in Early Childhood Education and the faculty coordinator for the CTL. This module is dedicated to service learning, and our goal is to interest you as an adjunct faculty member to explore service learning for a project in your class. 4 full-time faculty members are going to discuss in short video segments all about service learning projects. Amy Kosler will talk to you about how do you select a project. Terry Kite will be discussing securing a community partner. Charlie Roberts will talk to you about all the logistical concerns about a service learning project. And Susan Todd will finish up with reflections. At the end, you'll hear from Sarah, one of our early childhood education students, and you'll get her perspective on completing a service learning project in one of her courses. Service learning is a win-win-win opportunity for everyone, for your students, for the community member, and for also you as a faculty member. Jefferson College supports any full-time or adjunct faculty members who complete a service learning project in their course with a stipend at the end of the semester. Let me know if I can answer any further questions from you about service learning.
I'm Amy Kosler, Professor of Psychology, and I'm going to talk about how to select a service learning project. One of the most important factors in selecting a project is that it is meeting a need in the community. This might be a need that someone tells you about or that you or one of your students recognizes because you're familiar with the community partner. Each fall semester, students enrolled in Honors Psychology have the opportunity to research and present information to seniors at 2 local senior centers. In past years, my students have presented information about memory and aging, the importance of continued learning through the lifespan, and stress as we age. We include interactive activities and use clickers as part of the presentation, providing the seniors with an opportunity to actively engage in the learning experience. This project fills a need in the community by providing the seniors with an opportunity to hear current information about a topic they are interested in learning more about. Sometimes colleagues and students ask, how is service learning different than community service? The major component in a service learning project is that it is tied into at least one of the learning outcomes for your course. This provides students the opportunity to practice or implement the concepts learned in the course. In Honors Psychology, the service learning project is connected to 3 of 5 of the learning outcomes, including A, knowledge base of psychology. Students in my class focus on one of the major concepts in our course, for example, memory, learning, or reducing stress. B, learning methods in psychology. Students research the major concept by locating and reading professional journal articles related to the area. And D, application of psychology. Students in my class apply what they learn about the major concept to their own lives and to the lives of the seniors at the Senior Center. As you design your service learning project, the point value for the project should be between 10 and 40% for the entire course, with a recommended value of 20 to 25%. For Honors Psychology, the service learning project is 40% of the total course grade. Be certain to include the project on the course syllabus with the point values indicated. The service learning project and associated points should be in place of another assignment or assignments, not in addition to the usual assignments in the course. Details of the project can be discussed later, but it is important for the students to know at the beginning of the semester that a service project will be part of their learning experience in your course. It is also important to include details and logistics in your syllabus, especially if you expect your students to attend additional class meetings or if travel is part of the project. Be certain to begin the project early in the semester to allow adequate time for reflection when the project is finished. One approach is to divide the project into phases with points attached to each phase. This will ensure the project is focused on throughout the semester and not just at the close. Learning at each phase might be assessed using reflective writings, summarizing journal articles or other professional literature, or through individual or team presentations. Service learning provides our students with the opportunity to move the learning experience outside of the classroom and into the community.
When you're choosing a partner to create a service learning project with, you want to look at an institution or organization that will benefit from the students working with that individual group or organization. In addition, the students themselves should benefit from the experience. When you're looking for a partner to choose, you can look at local businesses, you can look at non-for-profit organizations, local school districts, or even your own institution. An example of a nonprofit, one of the English composition courses met with a veterans group, and the students interviewed these veterans about their memoirs of their service and then wrote them up as a memento for the veterans themselves. When you're looking at local businesses, an example is that the Vet Tech program at our institution partnered with a local pet store, and the students went to the store several Saturdays and demonstrated proper grooming techniques to pet owners as a service for that store. An example of a service learning project that worked with a local school district was the need for English as a second language tutors. In the teacher ed program, we offer field experiences to our students, but those students don't have a lot of experience working with speakers of other languages. So those students partnered with the ESL program at a local school district and provided tutoring throughout the semester. In place of their field experience hours, then they had more practical application. When looking at a service learning project for nonprofits, one of our local nonprofit resale shops partnered with a business class at our school, and those students worked with that nonprofit to price items, to look at budgeting for that specific store so that they were making a decent profit from the items that were being sold. And then an example of a local service learning project that benefited our own institution was the welding the welding program worked with our Buildings and Grounds program to create signs that would be displayed around campus. So the students had the experience of welding and working with the materials, and then the institution itself benefited from the signs being created. Once again, it's important that when you're choosing a community partner, you look at how the community partner will benefit as well as how the students will benefit from having completed this project. And it's also important that as the instructor, you make your expectations known with the students and with the community partner. It's always good to meet with that community partner, determine what needs to be completed, what the expectations are of the students, what the expectations are of the community partner, so that everybody benefits from the project at the end.
Hi, I'm Carlene Roberts, and I teach in veterinary technology, and I'm going to discuss the logistical concerns with my service learning project. My community partner is PetSmart, and my students are required to attend one adoption event at PetSmart per semester, and in order to do that, many things had to happen and come up with the logistical concerns of students giving up their free time and after hours time to be at this project. So first of all, I offer the project more than once, so students have the option to work around their own schedule. I do require them to schedule which day they're going to attend that project weeks ahead. They know early in the semester so that they can work around family obligations as well as their work schedules. We've had issues arise in the past, and I have been flexible. Transportation has been something that we've dealt with. Many of my students do not have their own transportation, and they must provide that to the project. And then other family issues such as babysitters, child care, and we've just worked with each issue as it rose individually. So I discussed with my students each semester what problems there may be so that we can work those out ahead of time. And I do have to be prepared for cancellation, so if a student is supposed to be scheduled but they don't show up, the show must go on, basically. So I have to have backup students, or I have to be able to kind of pick up the slack in order to complete the project. Because we are hosting an event educating customers for PetSmart, we still have to be there at that scheduled time and for the amount of hours, even if a student is unavailable. Obviously, I'm at every event, so you know, I do a lot of the backup if we have a student that cannot make it. Some of the other things that are different about my project, we are dealing with live animals and, of course, you know, people, so the safety issues that could arise with having the public around animals. So we have to be prepared for that, and I do go over that well with the students and let them know what is involved and what they are expected to do. They're required to act professionally, dress professionally, and you know, have a pretty high standard. While we are at the community partner, they require a certain dress and a certain behavior. The logistical concerns have made the service learning project more of a challenge, but this is a valuable experience for my students where they get out there, they go into the public, they see what the real world's going to be like. And so even though I've dealt with a lot of challenges, I feel it's been so beneficial and something I couldn't replicate in the classroom for these students. So when you're deciding to choose a service learning project, know that it is not going to be easy, but in the end it's going to be valuable to your students and worthwhile for your efforts.
The reflection aspect of service learning really ties together the whole goal of classes, and it really highlights the differences between community service and service learning. The reflection aspect has students step back from the project and look at how the project connects to the outcomes of the class and what they can come away from knowing about themselves, about the class, about their community partners. So the reflection part lets the students and the instructors see how it all comes together. I use it in my Leadership Development Studies course, and it's a natural fit for that class because the class involves goal setting and decision making and team building. So service learning projects let them go out into the community, implement, plan, put together projects, and then the reflection part shows me and them how it all works, how it all comes together. I require a 5-page paper for the reflection and an informal project. An informal presentation. In the 5-page paper, the students look at the course outcomes and their projects, and then they show the connections between the two. And the paper is focused on before, during, and after. So before, the planning part, how did they figure out what they were going to do for this project? What did they do for it? And then the after part looks at how likely they are to continue community service in the future as a result of what they learned in this project. Obviously, that's not the only way to approach reflection for service learning. It should be geared toward the class that it is being used in. Some different options that can be used. There can be journals, so instead of a big culminating paper, there can be smaller weekly or daily journals. You can use portfolios, presentations, whatever works for the particular class. But the key is to make sure that the students are connecting the class outcomes to the project.
Seated next to me is Sarah Bringer, an early childhood education student here at Jefferson College. Sarah, tell us a little bit about that class that you took a few semesters ago where you participated in a service learning project.
It was Intro to Early Childhood Education. It was my first education class at Jefferson College.
Okay, and what were you studying during that time that you did the service learning project? What was the assignment you had?
We were just working on lesson planning and how to plan for that age group.
Okay. When you did your lesson plans in class, then you were invited to take part in a service learning project.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the community partner and what that project entailed.
Our community partner was Parents as Teachers, and we had to plan an activity for preschoolers to do that night at the Winter Wonderland.
Okay, a winter wonderland. So how many families were invited through Parents as Teachers? Do you
Around
recall?
400, I think.
400 families, so that
Yes.
involved a lot of young children. Mm-hmm. All right, and as far as the students in the class went, about how many students or how many booths did you have that night at the Winter Wonderland party?
We had 15, and each booth had around 2 or 3 students.
Okay, so 15 booths and 2 or 3 students per booth. So
Yes.
you did a lot of planning and a lot of lesson planning for that night. A
Yes.
lot of thought went into that, I'm sure, with all those children and all those families.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, I'm sure there was a lot of Parents as Teachers staff there, but when you manned all those booths, did you feel like they were really grateful for all that you did and all the participation from the students?
Yes, they came around throughout the night asking us if we needed anything and thanking us multiple times for being there and helping out.
Okay, so you really feel like you took a big part
Yes,
in
for
that
sure.
Winter Wonderland project that they sponsored.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And about the actual learning, you said that you had the assignment, that you turned it into your instructor for a grade, I would assume, or a
Yes.
score. Okay. And then, but beyond that, you got to take it out into the community and you got to do those activities with the children at the Winter Wonderland Carnival. So tell us about the learning, you know, from just turning it into the instructor to taking it out and doing it with the children.
We learned a lot because when you just turn in an assignment, you do it and that's it. But this was awesome because we got to go out in the community and actually do it with the kids, and you learned how the kids took it, and you learned that sometimes it doesn't go the way you plan, and that's okay, and you just go with it.
Okay, so the learning was extended by taking it out into the community.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and then lastly, how about the volunteerism, and would you feel like you were more engaged with the community, or you would be more likely to volunteer in community service in the future?
Yes, I'm glad that our class had us do this assignment because it allowed us to take time out of our busy schedules to go and do something really awesome for the community, and I could tell the parents, teachers, staff was happy, and so we learned a lot, and I think I would definitely volunteer again.
Okay, thank you. So you can see that service learning is certainly advantageous for students, for the community partners, and also for you as instructors. Again, I'm Christy Cornelius. If you need any assistance with the service learning project, please let me know.